Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. This is the Tim Laskus Show. And yes, I'm Tim Laskus, and this is episode 41. And before I talk about today's guest, let me ask you, have you ever wanted to be a podcast host? Do you think, man, I could do a better job than some of these turkeys out there with the podcast? I could do a better job than Tim with this little rinky-dink podcast. Well, hey, you should be out there using your voice, making your name known, and reaping all the benefits of a podcast. I can't rave enough about what it's done for me. And if you'd like to learn the secrets of quickly getting your podcast off the ground, even when you're busy, head on over to timlaskus.com and get your free podcast launch cheat sheet. Yes, members from school, the cheat sheet, how it helped you get through class. I'd use it in high school because I was a dummy. But look, this is a cheat sheet that is yours to use. It ain't cheating. It's about learning the steps you need to get your podcast off the ground. So go to timlaskus.com, get your free podcast cheat sheet, and it's 7 proven steps how to get it going, how to monetize it, and just have it your own. How to do it. Get on over there, timlaskus.com. And now on to today's featured guest, which is Divya Parekh. She's wonderful. She teaches her followers how to use science-based strategies to achieve success in all types of relationships, including your relationship with yourself, with your money, with your customers, your clients, your patients, and with business colleagues, with partners, with your family, friends, the world, everyone. And she has been featured almost everywhere. She's been featured on BBC.com, CBS News, IGN, the Daily News, Reuters, Slate, The Independent, USA Today, you name it. She's been there, and she shares a wealth of information. So get ready to enjoy.
The Tim Laskus Show, in search of entrepreneurial gold. Tim digs deep into the minds of his guests. Entertaining, down to earth, and informative. Now, here's your host, Tim Laskus.
Welcome, everyone. Today's guest is Divya Parekh. Divya, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure, and hopefully I pronounced your name correctly.
Oh, you did fantastic, Tim.
Well, I'm getting a little bit better. I'm usually known for really just messing everyone's names up, so I'm going to pat myself on the back for this one.
You should.
But Divya, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself aside from business. What do you like to do when you're having fun?
Oh, there are so many things that I have fun with. So I'll just share one very quick example of what my idea of being spontaneous is. So I love to have the balance of being spontaneous and planning and preparing for fun. Yesterday I was driving up for a meeting at a cafe, and as I was driving down, I'm in North Carolina. Fortunately, we've got farms all around, and I see this beautiful strawberry farm, and as the wind is blowing in, I had my windows down and I could get a faint hint of strawberry fragrance. So I decided right there and then that, as I was going to return back from my meeting, I would take a detour and go for strawberry picking. So after the meeting was done, I took a detour, went for strawberry picking, beautiful sunshine, beautiful breeze flowing, and had so much fun going and picking strawberries. And when I came home, made great smoothies for the family. Had some mangoes, a lot of fun. And then aside, what I've found is that Mother Nature is my place to connect. Mother Nature is my safe haven. I love to take nature walks, going for walks around lakes. North Carolina is really famous for lakes. We have our own small lakes and our own wildlife. We get to see turtles, cormorants, Canadian geese, blue heron, and so many other type of birds that it's so amazing to walk around those lakes and enjoy that. And then I also do a lot of meditation, which I love. For me, there is nothing like meditation and bringing that mindfulness in your life, living day to day, because you know what? Once the day is gone, it's gone.
Absolutely. Well, I'm here in South Carolina, and I'll tell you, it really is a lot of fun. We've got mountains, we got the beach, we got a little bit of everything, especially in North Carolina. You have you got the Blue Ridge Mountains right around, and and a wonderful coastline over there. But you had talked about those strawberries, and there's nothing like going to a strawberry farm in the spring and the summer. And now, when you went to that farm, did you stop on the side of the road and fill your pockets up and then take off real quick?
No, I didn't do that.
You paid for them, okay? All right. I'm just making sure. You didn't say that you paid for them, so I just threw that out there. But
No,
anyway,
you go in, you get the basket because no.
Of course, I guess if you stuffed them in your pockets, then you got home, they'd be all squished and just liquefied and all that. But well, that's great. It sounds like you really enjoy natures and being outside. So tell the listeners now, let's switch gears and let's go into what you do professionally and what are you currently working on?
Oh, what a great question. So professionally, what I do is I'm a business relationship coach. And as one of my clients gave this title to me, and I'm so thankful to her, she gave me the title of writing coach extraordinaire. So besides being a speaker, I love to speak because, that's the beginning of sharing my message with people, because people have so much potential. And the way I see it is that regardless of however many billions of people are there, everyone is unique. You are unique. Every one of us is unique. And when you're unique and you find that potential, and when you're unlocking that potential and you see people light up, there's nothing like that. So that's one of the reasons I really enjoy speaking engagements. And then I blend my business relationship coaching and writing coaching to help people with their businesses as the growth, building relationship, building the leadership and influence in their lives and their teams. And along with that, giving themselves and giving their business a voice through the book. Because 82% of people want to write the book, and then studies have shown that only 3 or 4% end up writing a book finally. So I really find that, when you write a book, you're not only evolving personally, you're not only developing personally, but you're leaving a legacy behind. You're growing your business, and a book can do so much for you that I could go on and on for hours. And in a nutshell, what I see myself as, that I'm a coach on the side who helps the stars on the stage to help their light shine and attain their fullest potential and have their light shining so brightly that, the brilliance comes through.
Let me ask you, you said that you're a relationship coach. And when you said that, I was thinking of I don't know, a man and a woman who are together in a relationship, but you're talking about relationships within organizations? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about personal relationships?
Business relationship. And that's something, what I found was that, it was not out there. And I'm a trailblazer. I love to create my own trails, walk on it, and have fun with it. So what I found is that, the business relationship, there are like 9 relationships that I have talked about in my program. And how do you relate to each and every of those relationships? And when you are working with it, not only it helps you as a professional, not only helps your organization, it helps your business, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you are an organizational leader. It does not matter. It helps you in every direction that you want to go.
So you're exploring relationships within the company and also, I assume, with outside the company with customers as well?
Sure. I can just kind of throw a little bit light on the relationship. So there are 9 relationships. One is relationship with yourself, because you go everywhere. You take you everywhere. And if you're not true to yourself, then your relationship with yourself needs some work on. Or maybe you don't want to work on it. And that's totally fine too. And it's what you want out of yourself. So that's one, relationship with yourself. Then relationship with time. Are you leveraging time? Are you making the best use of time? Relationship with money. What's your money story? Then relationship with people. And in these 3 categories, it falls under relationship with your team, relationship with your joint partners, relationship with your customers, and then there's relationship with death, relationship with legacy, and relationship with the results to sustain your organization or to sustain your business.
That's a lot of relationships, Divya.
Uh-huh.
That's excellent. I mean, those are all very, very important areas of relationships. And, many times I think people can either get sidetracked and too focused on just one, maybe on themselves, or maybe they neglect themselves and they just focus on those around. And so it seems probably what you're saying is that you need to balance all of these various relationships in order to be successful. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. And what I recommend, what I've found in my experience is that what's best is to play at your strengths rather than going and working with your weaknesses, shortcomings, your deficits. I'm not saying to ignore those deficits. What you do is you offset those deficits. Yet at the same time, when you play at your strengths, it builds your confidence, it builds you, and when it builds you, you build others. And when you empower yourself and empower others, that's the sweet spot where you find that when you're playing in your sweet spot, you can empower yourself and empower others. And as you do that, you influence from the heart. It's not persuasion, it's influencing others through your heart. And when that happens, that's when magic happens.
Well, I think so many managers and leaders and supervisors out there, they just don't get it. That they think that, okay, if I'm in a management position or as a supervisor, I need to supervise and I need to manage someone. And that usually means tearing them down and letting them know when they messed up and what they better do to fix it or they're going to be out of a job. And a lot of times they forget the whole skill of building people up and empowering others.
Mm-hmm.
And so that a lot of organizations need this in order to have their leaders in their companies build people up, because I'm a firm believer that we never need to tear anybody down that's around us that are working with us. That if we're good at figuring out what their strengths are and building them up, empowering them, that people will be willing to work for us. We won't have to be on top of them. We won't have to supervise them as much, and they'll take more initiative.
You're so right, Tim, about it, because, when you care for people, when you empower them, they find a sense of belonging. They take the sense of ownership, because as human beings, there is this need, and this need, it has been instilled in us from generations, from hundreds of years, where we have this need to belong, where we have this urge to connect with other people. And when you have that sense of belonging, what happens is you take ownership, and when you find ownership and when you find that meaning and fulfillment in your work, it does not become work. You're going there to play at it. Because think about it, when you tell children, oh, let's go to the playground, the children's face light up, and when you're taking them to school, oh, I gotta go to school. They look forward to the weekend. But if we change work as the playground area, then we would love to go there. And I will share with you that, that in my different roles, when I've found meaning and fulfillment, I have got up in the morning and I've looked forward to the day of work, and it's not work anymore. It becomes play. It becomes enjoyable. It becomes fulfilling and meaningful.
Well, it seems that it's been instilled in us from early on that work is misery, from just the culture that we're around. When you listen to the radio, especially on Friday, all of these stations have the 5 o'clock whistle, and thank God it's Friday. I mean, they even have the famous restaurant chain, TGIF, and, everything is about Friday, which means that Monday through Thursday and into the beginning of Friday is miserable. But then once Friday at 5 o'clock comes around, fun begins, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But then it's Sunday evening starts to kind of set in, and then you become miserable again, and you just kind of sulk the rest of the week. people mope around on Monday, and you'll see people who, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm all right for a Monday. I'm hanging in there. How many of us have heard that before? Many of our listeners are probably in this position right now, which is why they want to break out of that. They want to start their own businesses, their own companies, follow their passion. And like you said, to be able to have just passion and fun in the work that you do. And when you're so passionate and you enjoy it so much, it doesn't feel like work, that it's fun. Work can be fun. It doesn't have to be miserable, and you don't have to feel like, you've got this ball and chain around your leg for, almost 5 days a week. So that's very, very powerful. And Divya, can you share with the listeners who are entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs a couple of tips that could help them make that jump, help them make that leap?
Oh, what a great questions. And I love the way you said wantrepreneurs. Wanting, yes, the desire and the passion, want to step into the entrepreneurial journey. So a couple of things that I would share is that what's important is having that transition plan. So first is the intention and commitment that yes, I want to be an entrepreneur. And once you have committed, so for example, I would always say, whether you're interested or invested. If you're interested, it's almost like renting an apartment, because you can leave an apartment, you can break the lease, maybe you might have to pay a month's rent, but it's not binding. But when you purchase a house, it's a whole lot more binding than renting a home. So the first thing is to figure out whether you're interested or invested. And once you're invested in it, you will find that the mindset and the commitment of your heart and passion to it is so much different. And when that investment, when that commitment lights the fire in your belly, you are going to take the necessary actions. And it's not only about taking the necessary actions, it's about taking the right action at the right time with the right process. And when you do that, then you are able to step into entrepreneurship with success. So for example, if you really want to get into entrepreneurship, first is the intention of commitment to yourself. Second is figuring out what area do you want to play in. And the third is the planning, creating a transition plan that, okay, I'm an organization, what are the needs? And I know when I say the word needs, immediately we're like, oh, it's not my need, it's my want. Just kind of looking at it and figuring it out. And again, assessing those relationships. That is that time right? Are you good financially? Where are you looking at yourself? Do you have all the skill sets? Where you want to go? So it's about planning and again, working through things and then building your entrepreneurship as a side business. And in some cases, you may be ready. You can jump straight into it, having a good business plan. And when you have your ducks in a row and when you step into the entrepreneurship, your passion thrives. And that is so important because entrepreneurship is awesome, but it comes with its own set of challenges. So when you're planned and prepared, then execution is so much easier. The implementation of your plan, because now not only you're committed, but you have thought it through and you are allowing your passion to continue. And the reason I'm emphasizing on all of this is because I have seen so many of my clients who have lost a couple of years in the business. They have been, invested, they're doing all of it, wearing all the hats. And what you tend to see is that they have a burnout or they lose passion, and then that's the reason you're going into it. So that's why the more preparation you'll do up front, the easier the transition will be.
That's excellent. You mentioned having a commitment and then, figuring out your area, expertise and planning. But one thing that you did say was, action at the right time. I think a lot of people get stuck on that step and they may not ever make that jump into being kind of a full-time business owner for themselves because they're just not sure. They're second guessing themselves about the right time. So how do people really get clear on whether it's a right time for them to go into that?
That is an excellent question. So that one of the things I will have to share with you is that what really helped me was having coaching, that having 2 business coaches, that as I had created the plan, and that again goes back to investment, like there's never going to be a right time. But when you have taken a look at the situation, so I can share a story about one of my clients. My client had been asked to actually leave the job because, they were saying that, oh, you can stay back, or we can give you a job in another state, or you can take an exit package where we will give you a good service package where you can walk off. And my client said that, I could take the package and start my own business. And I said, are you ready to do it? And he said, no, I'm not ready because I feel like I still have more to contribute to the organization. So we sat down, we figured out the plan, and we looked at all the relationships as to what needed to happen for him to step into entrepreneurship. So for example, I'll just kind of give very quickly, when you talk about the right time. So when you find that, I'll very quickly show that how everything can work in sync together. So first thing is your mindset has to be ready. The second is the time is like when you have considered everything else. So for example, financially you're good. Your family and friends are there to support you. And you can say, oh, that might never happen. But that's again defining as to what you're willing to live with. Having those clear expectations, clarity is the key, Tim. And when you have defined it, okay, this is my end goal, this is my date, just treating the entrepreneurship like as if you would be running any project in the company. Just like an organization can complete projects, just like an athlete knows, okay, it's time to go for my marathon. There's a date. You set the date. And then you work towards it. And unless something is really direly wrong, where your business plan is totally falling apart, there should be nothing to stop you. It goes back into the planning and preparation for implementation.
Well, I love that part of planning and setting a date, because then that makes it very real. Hold your feet to the fire, and you have a better chance of being successful in doing that when you follow those steps. That is very, very powerful. Now let's shift gears a little bit, Divya. When did you realize you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you always have the entrepreneurial spirit, or was it early in life, or was it a little bit later?
Well, I have been an entrepreneur throughout my life. Like even when I was a kid, I would kind of come up with different things, make different things, and I would always try to sell it to my parents. Easiest.
They were your first customers.
Easiest customers and my neighbors. And surprisingly, people supported me, did different things. And even when I was in the corporation, I was very fortunate to be in different roles, leading multi-million-dollar projects, working as a customer liaison. And what I found is that you can have the entrepreneurial spirit anywhere, because entrepreneurial spirit is about improving things. It's about creativity. And just because you're an organization does not mean that you cannot be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur anywhere. It's about what is your risk-taking wavelength. So for some people, risk-taking is very, very, very hard to take risk. And I'm not saying you should take a risk. I'm talking about making informed decisions with the information given. And sometimes you may not have all the information. But taking calculated risk. And fortunately, I had the fortune to go through and doing risk assessment on so many different projects that it really helped me figure that out. So long story short, it did help me to have that entrepreneurial spirit and figuring out, okay, if this doesn't happen, this will work. But my total transition happened in 2008 when the economy tanked, and there had been a lot of rumors going around through the grapevine that, there were going to be layoffs in pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals was also impacted like any other industry. And at the same time, my husband knew, as a matter of fact, that, he would be laid off. And when you have got a young family at home, you do become scared and you don't want to lose the job. And yes, it was not real to me. There were these possibilities, but then one day rolls in and a lot of my friends who had been with me for several years were walked off at a moment's notice. And to me, I could not look myself in the eye, in the mirror that night, because to me, it has always been growing with others, growing yourself, growing others, and growing together. That's my mantra, and that's what I was taught. I was very fortunate to have a great dad who has taught me always that, it's not just about yourself. You grow yourself, you grow others, and you grow together. And then I started looking at my skill sets and really contemplation, and I found that I wanted to create more jobs than be at the mercy of the job. And of course, as we talk about the transition plan, I sat down, looked at my skill sets, and I found that coaching was the way to go, and then rest is history.
Well, it sounds like that the way that you approached your job was as an avenue for you to continue to learn and grow. And I think people lose sight of that, is that we can get stuck in this negative mindset about our jobs and just think, oh, this is terrible. It's horrible. I got to get out of this place. This is not for me. This is not what I'm meant to do. Instead of taking a reverse look at it and going, this is a time for me to learn, learn everything about different kind of management style, about, working with people, about different things within an organization that will help you when you're out on your own, running your own business. And so if you look at it as, okay, what can I learn today at this job? Yeah, maybe it's not ideal, but how can I'm getting paid to maybe learn some things that are going to help me when I'm on my own. And I think people would have more enthusiasm for their job and would take it would help get them through those difficult moments when they're struggling, trying to get through that Monday through Friday, and look at it as, okay, this is a learning experience and I'm getting paid to learn. Let me get everything I can, because when I go out on my own, this information is going to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. You are absolutely right.
Just powerful. So it's all about mindset. Now, Divya, you talked about your father being such an influence on you. What kind of messages did you receive about money and finances and how to make money?
Great question. So one of the messages that I received was, the first thing was that I could do anything that I set my mind to. Really, really fortunate about having that encouragement and empowerment throughout my childhood and as I grew up. And the message that I got was that money was a means to freedom, to have that quality lifestyle. Money was not the end. Money was not the root of evil. Money was just a means to have the freedom for your time, to have a quality lifestyle, and that it was okay to have money. But at the same time, it is what you do with money, that's what matters. It's not that, okay, fine, if you make tons of money, then you become arrogant. No, it's about having that money and going and supporting others. So I can just share one of the things that what I've done. I've written several books, and part of the proceeds go to Kiva, which is an online entrepreneurial give back program where entrepreneurs take loans and they return some portion of the loans back. And currently I'm doing an anthology. All the royalties are going to go to Kiva. So that it's again, you don't have to be a millionaire to be a philanthropist, or you don't have to be a billionaire to help others. You can help others from the place you are, regardless whether you are working at a minimum wage or whether you're making $1 billion. The key is to have that heart and what you do with money.
I love that. And yeah, it's sometimes, some of us have probably maybe born into an environment or a family where, money was scarce, and maybe we had those ideas that, people who have money either stole it from somewhere else, or cheated someone to get it, or they were just born into it. And so, some of those negative messages about money sometimes kind of hold us back. And I love that that kind of idea that you grew up with, that money is a way to give back to others, to help others, and to also, give you kind of freedom and flexibility within your own life. Now, going, a little bit further back into your experience as an entrepreneur, I'm sure there were some difficult times. Can you share with the audience a time or a situation where you were just burned out and at your end, and how did you cope with it?
Oh, great question. And I have to share that it again goes back to the time when you said that, when is the right time to step into the entrepreneurship? So what had happened was, now after being coached and, having been a coach for so many years, now I can go back and always say that hindsight is 2020, that now if you set a date, you set a date and you move on. But in my case, what happened was, because of certain circumstances, while I was in organization, I was still kind of planning. I had not set the date then, that when would I move out. So that again goes back to your question, then when's the right time? So at that point in time, I had not learned that. But now I've learned it, and I'll set a date and I stay committed to it and I'm invested in it. So what happened was, I was having severe neck pain and my arms were getting numb and very exhausting, because pharmaceutical work, it was, do more with less and a lot of hours, a lot of work. And then also managing the family, and also at the same time managing entrepreneurship, because my business had kind of grown quite a bit. So having these three things to do, and I was enjoying it. So as far as like the emotional energy was concerned, I was at the top of the gear, because my passion would light the fire in my belly when I would coach and I would find somebody just kind of, experiencing the aha moment. And when one of my clients would say, oh my goodness, I'm looking forward to going to work. Oh, I'm so thrilled to be at the next stage of my life. Or they were getting results and successes. Or I was promoted. Oh, I had such a fantastic time with my team. My team was not working and I was able to influence my team. And we went from a non-functional to a functional and influential team. So all those was firing me up. But at the same time, body has its own way of telling you when it's time. So I was burning myself out, even though I did not realize it. And then what I found was that because of the pain and all that, I thought it was because of stress, went for physical therapy. And then I kind of figured that, usually we are always so hard on yourself, especially women tend to do that. And I thought, it's stress, I'm not dealing with it right. So I did seek help. And at the end of the conversation, the gentleman told me, you know what? You definitely don't need mental help. You have a great attitude, you're doing good. Go to your doctor again and see what's going on with your neck. And I did go in and I found out I have some herniated disc and some little, degenerative. And so that was the time when universe, God had an intervention and then said that, okay, it's time to make the decision. And so that was the time. And again, like I said, okay, what is it that's preventing me from being invested? And then I said, okay, it was because I was putting everybody else first. And then that brought the shift. That's when those 9 relationships took the board, when I made the transition from not having all the relationships, having that balance with them. I was doing great in some, but I was avoiding the balance in the other areas. When I had that balance, and when I came out at the other end, the result was phenomenal. And what I did was, how did I cope with it was, I addressed that relationship with self, and I made a commitment to myself, and I took the right actions where, okay, planned out things, and then, okay, in 6 months of time, I'm going to ease into it. I'm going to do this, letting know my friends and family that, hey, I'm coming out and starting a business. But then, you know what? Life's still uncertain. So that's where the mindset comes into play, that you have to be able to adapt, be flexible, and adjust the course if the course changes. And sometimes all the planning in the world may not come to fruition.
Wow, that's very powerful, Divya. I love that. And it was rich in information with your story, and it's one that we could all kind of take to heart and take notes and learn for ourselves. What would you say has been the most fulfilling moment as an entrepreneur?
So I will share that, as an entrepreneur, the most fulfilling moment has been when I'm able to schedule my time. And as I've always mentioned, for me, growing together, helping others grow, and helping myself grow is when that magic happens as a community. That's when the magic happens for me. So I was able to do several leadership and entrepreneurial workshops for children who don't have as many resources like the other children have. And when I saw these children come into their own, when I saw these youngsters and women, it was a whole community, just to blossom. And then there had been a ceremony where we celebrated everyone. And you see these young leaders from, teenagers to college students just unfolding and just blossoming. It was like a garden. You could see different flowers because every individual is different, and you see them blossoming. It was the spring in bloom. And that day was one of the most fulfilling moments in my life.
Wow, it sounds like it was a special moment that really stands out, and those are the moments that stay with us forever. It's never about the money. For sure, people will forget about that when they had a big payday, but it's the people you come in contact with that really stay with us. Well, Divya, we've come to the end of the show. You've been a fantastic guest. And before we go, I'd like you to let the audience know, how can they find you online, your website, and your books, and all that great information?
Thank you. So, listeners, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate so much your time, Tim. Thank you for having me. So you can find me on my website. It is www.divyaparekh.com, and I'll spell it out. D as in David, I, V as in Victor, Y-A, P as in Paul, A as in Apple, R as in Robert, E, K as in Kevin, H as in Harry. And again, it is www.divyaparekh.com. And if you want to reach out to me via email, I'm here to serve and support you. My email address is contact@divyaparekh.com. And as far as books are concerned, if you type up my name in Amazon, you will find all the books that I've authored. And if you reach out to me, just because I'm your guest, Tim, I would love to share a link where people can get a free audiobook for leadership and influence. And if you decide to go back with my book, then I will also share. I sincerely believe that my book will really help you get the goals that you want. If you do that, if you invest in yourself, I'm willing to invest in helping you get jump started, get that fast start with knowing a little bit about yourself, where I will be sharing a $50 worth assessment with you for free. And the link for that is success.divyaparekh.com/the-entrepreneurs with an S-garden success.divyaparekh.com/the-entrepreneurs-garden/. And thank you again so much, Tim. Very grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you, Divya. That's incredible. I appreciate that. For all the listeners out there, I'm going to have this information in the show notes. So be sure to go to timlaskis.com and look in the show notes, and I'll have all Divya's contact information and her website and all that great stuff there. Divya, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Want more entrepreneurial tips? Go to timlaskas.com.